WNST tagging along as well as some college football with the Terps entertaining Northwestern, and that'll happen at 3:30. But it's a Chicago kind of Maryland kind of weekend as the Bears come to town here on the backside of a somewhat ugly loss amidst a lot of anticipation for the debut of Mitch Trubisky on Monday night. This guy covers all things Bears for BearReport.com. He is also the publisher there, and you can follow his journey at Bear Report on Twitter. We welcome Jeremy Stoltz back on to the program here in Baltimore, 7 years on the beat, and I think we had you on before the crazy tornado thing happened 4 years ago when we were out there. We hope for better weather here in Baltimore this time around. Good to have you on, Jeremy. You've been watching some bad football, though, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for a few years, so I'm kind of getting used to it. But yeah, I forgot about that. That was that game that we were stuck in the press box for a while that tornado flew over.
Well, it's better to be stuck in the press box than in the 40th row of the upper deck on the 50-yard line with all those poor SOBs. It felt to me like I needed to build them an arc and move it over to the other side, you know?
Yeah, but at the same time, you felt good that you were safe and sound inside.
Well, when they told me to move away from the glass because of the tornado, I'm thinking, what good is that going to do all of us?
Yeah. We're way too close as it is.
I mean, I know there's going to be some twisted steel here, but I didn't think of dying a glass death. But you talk about a death of 1,000 cuts. How about these Bears, right? Look, Trubisky looks like he's going to be okay. I just don't know that he's going to be okay this week or anytime soon. The problem didn't feel like him on Monday night or his inexperience. It just feels like there's not a lot of good football players on this team right now.
No, and that's especially true with the wide receiver position. You know, his pass catchers, the Bears came into the game leading the league in drops, and, you know, in the first drive, he had a perfect throw on a third down pass right to Deion Sims and went right through his hands, and that's kind of been the case throughout the season, whether it was Mike Glennon or Mitch Trubisky, just not getting a lot of help from the receivers, and I don't see that changing. I don't think Kendall Wright is the answer. Marcus Wheaton isn't the answer. I mean, the guys that they wanted to be the number one guys, Cam Meredith and Kevin White, never really played any snaps. So they're kind of left stuck with what they have. And, you know, the ceiling only goes so high when you have those type of pass catchers. So I still think I saw a lot of good things out of Trubisky. But, again, it's not like he's going to be putting up potentially Deshaun Watson numbers because he doesn't have that DeAndre Hopkins and that Will Fuller out there.
Well, in the case of Trubisky and why he didn't play, run me through a little revisionist history here on Mike Glennon. And, you know, just from the outside, I wonder what the hell they're trying to do other than get John Fox fired at this point.
Yeah, I didn't really understand. The only thing that really made a whole lot of sense in terms of getting Mike Glennon out there was the Bears played one of the hardest stretches in the league through the first 4 weeks of the season, and, you know, 5 weeks of the season at this point. And they didn't really want to throw the kid out there and have him get brutalized and get punished during those first 4 weeks. I mean, they played 3 of the 4 teams that were in the championship games last year. So, you know, if you're going to pay Mike Glennon $14.5 million, at least get him, you know, let him take his bumps in that first month of the season. But you're right. What were they paying him $14.5 million for in the first place? I don't understand. I didn't understand that move from the start. I thought Trubisky looked better from the first day of OTAs. And I think even though he did struggle last night a little bit, I think he's going to give him a better chance to score a lot more points going forward.
Well, and let's talk about that a little bit. Just Monday night's play, obviously through the pick, the quarterback rating, all that stuff. But you've watched this mess more, and I only saw parts of the Steelers-Bears game a couple of weeks ago, and it certainly didn't look like the Steelers team I saw here last week against them or Jacksonville. But certainly for the Bears in beating the Steelers, you know, Glennon was a part of that, right? So you doff the cap for that, but then saying, where are they going to be long-term with an $18.5 million guy that now they don't want to see back on the field? They're trying to keep Trubisky upright.
Yeah, you know, Trubisky's the future. I think the Bears are looking kind of at Mike Glennon as, hey, that was, you know, it was a mistake that you can't get rid of. $18.5 million is going to come off the books whether you like it or not, whether or not he plays good or not. So he's going to sit there. He's going to watch this kid develop. If Trubisky gets hurt, we'll see Mike Glennon again, but that's the only situation that I see him fitting out on the field. And, hey, you know, you don't always make the greatest moves. At the time, the Bears didn't have Mitch Trubisky. You know, GM Ryan Pace felt that Glennon was the best guy out there on the free agent market. You know, the franchise quarterbacks don't hit free agency. So gave it a shot. It didn't work out, but at the very least, he's got his franchise future passer in the fold.
Well, the story was they were going to run the ball, right? That was the story was let's run the ball, let's game manage, let's have our defense lead the way. They're not taking the ball away defensively, and more than that, they're not really running the ball all that well.
Yeah, and they're not running it consistently. They do get good chunks, and Jordan Howard is having a decent season, but they're not doing it consistently. He's getting hit in the backfield way too often, which is that's putting him in tough situations, 2nd and 12, 3rd and 11. Those aren't great, for a veteran or a rookie quarterback, especially a rookie. So, yeah, that the run game's got to get going a little bit more consistently. And the disappointing part about that is the Bears do have a really good run blocking offensive line. So, I think it's more about the fact that no quarterback is really challenged any of the defenses so far, so they're shoving 8-9 guys in the box, and that's just making life miserable for Jordan Howard. So, they got to get going on the run game. And you mentioned the turnovers. Bears only have 3 takeaways so far, which is tied for second to last in the NFL. They were last in the NFL in takeaways last year. It's been a yearly issue, and I don't know what they're going to do about it, because in a game like last night, 1 turnover might have been the difference. So if they don't start getting turnovers, running the ball efficiently, it doesn't matter who's under center.
Gui Barcone, we'll take him, put him in for Danny Wood, and let him run around. He'd help our offense a little bit.
Yeah, and that's a problem. With Cohen last night, he had 1 target. He's your best mismatched guy on the field, a guy who you put him on a linebacker, he can exploit that all day long. And they only threw the ball one time to him for -6 yards. I didn't understand the misuse there of your most electrifying player on offense. That's the type of guy who can bail out a rookie Mitch Trubisky in a primetime game. So I expect them to have a little better plan for Tariq Cohen going forward.
Jeremy Stoltz does all things Chicago Bears. He is BearReport.com. He is the founder and publisher there, as well as at Bear Report out on Twitter. You can follow him leading up to the days leading up to the game here, trying to figure some things out. Certainly a lot of injuries there, too. I mean, up and down the roster, very, very similar story to the Ravens. And obviously the Ravens got to get well out in Oakland. And the season's taking a little bit of a turn here with Bears and Vikings and your old pal Jay Cutler in Miami in a couple of weeks. But, this week, this defense, this front seven, the Ravens have had a little ball management issue here offensively, and they have also struggled to run the football a little bit. I would say the best chance you have is harassing Flacco and taking advantage of the offensive line that has been maligned, but played much, much better against Oakland last week.
Yeah, but the problem is the Bears haven't had much consistency outside, within the pass rush. Last night we saw a little bit of it, but I think that had more to do with Sam Bradford really not being 100% and not being able to move around in the pocket. Once Case Keenum got out there, the Bears didn't have as much success pushing the pocket, and now they just lost Willie Young, who was placed on injured reserve today. So they're really leaning on, former first-rounder Leonard Floyd, who played well last night. Akeem Hicks has played well. They need more out of Leonard Floyd, because I think you're right. If they don't get pressure on Flacco's he's an established veteran, a world champion quarterback who's going to eat you up if you give him time back there, and the Bears don't have the talent in the secondary to overcome that right now. So they're just, guys like Leonard Floyd, Akeem Hicks, Pernell McPhee, they need to raise their level of play if they're going to have a chance against the Ravens.
Well, Hicks is kind of special, right? I mean, watching the game obviously I would take Anthony Barr, but other than that, I'm watching the game the other night, and I'm thinking, which one of these guys would I want? Every time I looked up, Hicks was in the backfield, and I'm like, I like him. He's huge.
Yeah, Hicks, and Hicks, he's the type of guy who commands a double team, and I think that's what's kind of been disappointing about the defensive line in general, is that Hicks is commanding those double teams, and you've seen when he gets those one-on-ones, he just barrels through people. So you almost have to put 2 guys on him, but that creates one-on-one situations for the other guys, and they're not taking advantage of it consistently. So you re-signed Hicks, you got him here long-term, he's a foundation piece. Now you got to start taking advantage of that, taking advantage of those one-on-one opportunities on the outside, because he's going to continue to get better. I think Akeem Hicks is on his way to a Pro Bowl season and is going to be that centerpiece of the Chicago defense for a few years. He
is Jeremy Stoltz, Bear Report and BearReport.com as the Bears come in. This was double duty for me on Monday night. First off, I know everybody out there was watching the Cubs and the Nationals. I had baseball on all day on Monday as well, but I even had a hockey game on, trying to see if Ovechkin could score 5 goals in a game. But I was pretty glued in on the game, because Bears-Vikings, we have the Vikings next week. Boy, they got their problems. I mean, we play the whole division. Obviously, Detroit's coming in here next month, and we're going to have to go out to Green Bay as well. I don't know that I fear any team or any of this other than going to Green Bay, and that's the week before Thanksgiving around here. This lineup of Bears here, Vikings on the road, we always respect the road, but and we always respect Case Keenum after he came out of a tree and beat us in Houston a couple years ago. And then we got Jay Cutler. The season really takes a turn when you go out to Oakland and win a game like that and get a little bit of momentum. I didn't like anything I saw Monday night. They looked like 2 bad football teams on Monday night.
Yeah, and I think you're right about the NFC North in general. Outside of Green Bay, these are a lot, three mediocre teams. Detroit did not look good this past weekend, and I think that Minnesota to only win by 3 points against a Bears team that was starting a rookie quarterback and really doesn't have a lot of talent, like we talked about, that doesn't bode well for them either. They lost their best player in Dalvin Cook. Sam Bradford didn't look good at all. So, they're relying on their defense heavily. I mean, really, it's been this way for years in the NFC North. It's Aaron Rodgers, and then it's everybody else trying to play catch-up. So I think that Baltimore, like you said, you get that big win against Oakland, that gives you a little bit of momentum. I don't think you should be afraid of any of these NFC North teams other than going up into Green Bay.
Well, Detroit looked to be improved, and they stubbed their toe against Carolina, right? I mean, just when you think they're about to climb the mountain, they are the paper Lions who've never been to the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, they do it every year. I mean, we see the same thing out of the Lions almost every single season. They have these flashes of potential, and they look like a realistic playoff team. And then, I've always said that Matthew Stafford has a lot of Jay Cutler in him, and you see him make mistakes at the worst times, and they struggle in the run game. I don't think they're a complete team, and I think that's just kind of been the way it's been for years in Detroit.
He is Jeremy Stoltz. He is Bear Report and BearReport.com. All right, dude, make a case here that the Bears are going to come in and steal this game. What has to happen right for the Bears on Sunday?
Well, the Bears are going to have to run the football, first of all. I mean, what they weren't able to do this week against the Minnesota Vikings, that's going to have to change against the Ravens, and I don't know if that's possible. I know that the Ravens have one of the better front sevens in the NFL. I know they're going to get after Mitch Trubisky. He has to play a clean game, and I think, like we talked about earlier, they're going to have to get after Joe Flacco. I think the biggest thing, though, Bears need to win the turnover battle. Bears haven't won the turnover battle in a long time. They need to get some takeaways, and they need to put points on the board from those takeaways. If they again lose the turnover battle, I don't care how good everybody else plays. They're probably going to end up losing to the Ravens.
Hey, man, always a pleasure to check in with you. We'll be following you at Bear Report and onward. Now, what do you do with Bear Report? Give me a little lowdown on that. You've been doing that 7 years now, right?
Yeah, 7 years. Just as much insider info as we can give Bears fans, diehard Bears fans, X and O work. Talking to the guys that you don't always hear from, and trying to get a lot of inside info. We got message boards too for everybody to come and talk and join the conversation. We'd love to have you.
You got it. Jeremy Stoltz of Bear Report and BearReport.com joining us from Chicago, Illinois. You can find me in the BuyAToyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device, including Gurnee, from all the way through Schaumburg and all those great places that I used to drive from Midway Airport back in my Sporting News and one-on-one sports days. You get us through the BuyAToyota.com audio vault, as well as downloading the TuneIn Radio app. Morning newspaper comes to you at 7 a.m. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life there, guaranteed. And, of course, you can find me anytime, nasty at WNST.net. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. I'm Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.